The meeting of the Committee on Strategic Planning and Budget of the Board of School Directors will please come to order. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Director Carr?
Here.
Director Herndon?
Present.
Director Jackson?
Present.
Director Leonard?
Present.
Director O'Halloran?
Here.
Director Seamson? Director Zambor?
Present.
And Chair Gokul Gandhi.
Present.
That is 7 members present.
The Chair will now ask the Secretary to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The Chair invites any members of the audience who wish to participate to do so and asks those who do not wish to participate, please remain silent during the pledge.
And Madam Chair, I don't think I officially announced that Director Garcia had asked to be excused.
Great, thank you. And I think we have Director Seamson arriving.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being conducted in person from the Central Services Building. In order to allow as much public access and participation as possible, this meeting is also being broadcast via live stream on the MPS website and on the MPS YouTube stream, the links to which may be found on the MPS website on the broadcast page. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we have a short announcement regarding interpretation services for the Spanish-speaking members of our audience.
Buenas tardes y bienvenidos a la Junta Escolar de las Escuelas Públicas de Milwaukee. Si desea escuchar esta reunión en español, por favor llame al 312-626-6799. Nuevamente, 312-626-6799. E introduzca el número de reunión 608-130-5362. Nuevamente, el número de reunión es 608-130-5362. Gracias.
For each of our items of business, we will hold a discussion and public hearing. If you wish to speak, please fill out a speaker slip and bring it to our secretary, Ms. Koala. Virtual speakers are asked to remain on the platform until you are called upon. After speaking, virtual speakers may follow the rest of the meeting using the broadcast information previously mentioned. When you are called upon to speak, please state your name and spell your last name for the record. For sake of fairness and to give everyone a chance to speak, the Chair reserves the right to limit the length of time allowed to any one speaker. Written testimony will be accepted for transmittal to the board. Send this testimony to the Office of Board Governance, P.O. Box 2181, Milwaukee, Wisconsin 53201, or fax to 414-475-8071, or email to governance@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Just as a reminder, Robert's Rules of Order dictates that all comments should be directed to the chair of the committee. Also, any questions or requests, including those from the public, committee members, or the administration, are to be directed toward the chair, who will determine the most efficient way to address them. For the safety of all and to ensure the good order of the meeting, harassment or intimidation tactics of any kind will not be tolerated. Anyone who engages in such harassing or intimidating words or actions will immediately be asked to cease. If such behavior continues, a recess will be called and the offending parties will be removed from the meeting. Anyone ejected from the meeting may continue to listen to the meeting or access the agenda items online. However, the individual will not be allowed to rejoin the meeting. No one other than members of the board, designated staff, and those who have been invited to present or participate in the items of business will be allowed on stage before, during, or after meetings of the board and its committees. Finally, for our listening audience, if you wish to access this evening's agenda items and attachments online, you may do so by visiting the meetings, agendas, and minutes page of the MPS website. Now let's begin. Madam Secretary, item 1.
Item 1 is a report with possible action on the district's elementary and secondary school emergency relief fund evaluation plan. This is an informational item. Although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would the administration please present the item?
Yes, Madam Chair and members of the committee, Keith Bosley, Superintendent of Schools. This evening, we are bringing to you an update on our ESSER evaluation plan. To report out on this item, we have Shelley Perkins, Director of State and Federal Programs, joined by Dr. Carrie Schultz from the American Institutes of Research. Following the presentation, we'll be more than happy to entertain any questions that you may have. Shelley.
Chair Gokul Gandhi, members of the committee, my name is Shelley Perkins, Director of State and Federal Programs. As you know, ESSER funding has provided MPS with many opportunities, and we are so grateful. The ESSER funding has provided support for students through opportunities in the following categories: accelerated learning, health and wellness, facilities upgrades, technology, extracurricular activities. A significant portion of the pandemic relief aid must be used to implement evidence-based programs and interventions that attend to students' academic, social, and emotional needs. ESSER is so expansive that we have chosen to evaluate a minimum of 3 key funded ESSER initiatives. The evaluation will help determine whether the district is implementing the activities and projects as planned and the impact the programming is having on student achievement. We are excited to have the opportunity to share an update of the evaluation work that has continued with the American Institutes for Research. Dr. Carrie Schultz, the principal investigator for our ESSER evaluation, will be presenting the Year 1 findings from the Social Studies evaluation, as well as previewing work on the development of a GIS mapping tool that displays tutoring and mental health services delivered across the district. Carrie is a managing researcher at the American Institute for Research. Carrie?
Thanks, Shelley. Chair Gokul Gandhi, members of the committee, my name is Carrie Scholes. I'm going to start off by sharing about the social studies curriculum and then move on to the GIS mapping. So for our scope of work across the contract for the evaluation, we have these 4 research questions driving the work. The first 3 focus on teachers' perceptions and experiences with the curriculum. The last question focuses on student outcomes related to implementation of the curriculum. For tonight's presentation, I'm going to be focusing on the first 3 questions highlighted here on your screen. The first is, that's fine, we can go on. The research focuses on 5 domains related to the curriculum, and I'm going to be breaking down each of these in just a moment so that you can see the results related to each of the domains. I wanted you to first understand what the process was like to collect the data so that you can take that into account when thinking about the results. We conducted a survey of all social studies teachers, kindergarten through 12th grade, and also had a series of focus groups at the elementary, middle, and high school levels. The survey response rate was only 27%, so I want you to take the results with a grain of salt because it's not representative of the district, but only those who responded to the survey. Now I want to talk about the domains that we were studying relative to the curriculum. The first was preparedness, and before we move on, I'll just break these down. Those are the bold words on the screen right now. Preparedness is the extent to which teachers felt ready to implement the curriculum. Implementation was what teachers reported on actually doing related to the curriculum. Usability are teachers' perceptions of the ease of which to use the curricular resources and the extent to which the curriculum was well designed. Feasibility is the viability of the extent to which they are able to use it currently or potentially in the future. And then finally, acceptability is basically, did teachers like it? To what extent are they excited about implementing? So I'll break down the findings relative to each of these domains. In the subsequent slides, you'll see on the right-hand side the survey results. The left-hand side highlights the survey key takeaways and then has some more of the focus groups themes that we pulled out to give some context to the quantitative data. So we can go to the next slide. This is the high level, what I like to think about the money slide. What's the high level takeaway? The major takeaway is across these domains, a majority of teachers who responded to this survey had positive perceptions of each of the evaluation domains with the exception of feasibility. And like I said, we'll talk about each one next. So the first domain is preparedness. You can see that slightly more than 50% of the teachers felt prepared to use the new curriculum. The darkest darkest bar in that graph is the overall, and then the breakdown, the next to that is the elementary, then middle, then high school. And that same color pattern will repeat throughout this deck. Teachers varied in their experience and how well they were prepared to use the curriculum. Multiple resources such as professional development and sample lessons were available to teachers. And teachers felt like while they didn't always have sufficient time to learn and use these resources, they were available to them. We can go with the next one, implementation. Here you'll see that most teachers reported implementing the new curriculum regularly in the survey. And the high school teachers reported the lowest levels of implementation, while middle school teachers reported the highest levels. In our focus groups, we heard that many teachers reported implementing the curriculum, but may have adapted parts of the curriculum as part of their implementation. In terms of usability, slightly more than half of the teachers agreed that the new curriculum was well designed. High school teachers were most likely to agree that the curriculum was well designed and that they could effectively use it. Elementary teachers reported challenges with the online format, challenges with the reading level for some of their students, and some insufficient supports for English learners. Despite these challenges, teachers noted that the online components were an improvement compared to the previous curriculum. Domain 4 of 5 here is feasibility, and this is the one where less than 50% of teachers agreed that the curriculum was feasible to implement. Teachers expressed the need for professional development, particularly with relationship to literacy instruction, as well as additional time for planning in terms of not just themselves, but planning collaboratively with their colleagues. High school teachers were most likely to report agreement that the curriculum was feasible to implement. And elementary teachers expressed challenges related to implementing the curriculum due to less familiarity with the content. They typically aren't social studies content experts, and instructional time for social studies compared to the other content they're trying to cover. The last domain is acceptability. And again, over 50% of teachers reported that they agreed the curriculum was acceptable. Overall, they preferred this curriculum to the previous one. They were more up to date and more inclusive. Teachers shared how students could relate to the curriculum more easily and apply it to their lives. And lastly, teachers expressed confidence that the new curriculum encouraged higher order thinking and a greater emphasis on skills related to inquiry. High school teachers were most likely to agree that the curriculum was acceptable. So this was just the year one part of the study. The next steps are for us to administer the survey again next month, as well as conduct another round of focus groups so that we can look at potential changes over time, given that the rollout, there was more time for getting materials to all teachers this school year. And I know that there's been additional PD plans in place. So that's the social studies update. We'll go to the year one GIS mapping next. Go ahead. So our research questions for the GIS mapping we have multiple dashboards. This is just a preview of dashboard 1, which focuses on which schools and school board district regions have students accessing tutoring and mental health services. Now, I want to talk about the functionality of the dashboard that's underway. So you'll see in these slides snapshots of the dashboard, and the highlighted areas are the pieces that I'll be breaking down and talking about. So this one shows participation for tutoring and mental health, like I said. The user will have the option to interact with the map using the options in the left panel. The current view is showing participation in tutoring services. Next one. Now we're looking at the bottom right of the slide. The lighter colors for both the district region as well as the schools represent lower levels of percentages in terms of participation for tutoring and mental health. The darker colors at the district and school levels also represent higher percentages in terms of participation. So you can see the darker green areas is where there are higher levels of participation, and the circles where there are darker purple is where more participation is occurring. Next slide. On the right of the dashboard, that's where we have the participation by student group in terms of percentages. Next slide. Here on this slide, you can see that the data displayed can be changed using the first two options on the left panel. You can choose either the percentage or count. This selection will determine if the map is displaying the count of students or the percentage of students participating. And then the service provided. Again, in this case, tutoring or mental health are the options. If you click on the mental health button in the Choose Service Provided section, you will be able to see where the funds are being used to support mental health services and where students are participating. So this is in contrast to the tutoring view you saw earlier. Next slide. The school level data being displayed here on the map can be filtered using the three middle options in the left panel. The school view will show the selection that determines if the map is displaying school level data or not. The schools can be filtered by region, and then which schools provided the services will be highlighted. And then the final slide here about the dashboard shows that, again, you can select to see the school board district view, or simply look at which students by population in terms of different subgroups, such as all learners, English learners, female students, et cetera, can be shown at the school board district level. So our next steps for the dashboard will be this is just the breakdown of mental health and tutoring. We'll be looking at facilities, technology, and extracurricular services.
And we'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I'm going to ask if there's any public testimony on this item first.
Madam Chair, we do have one person from the audience who registered to speak, and we have a virtual speaker as well.
Let's go to the virtual platform first.
Oh, okay, the in-person speaker is for the next meeting. So we have one virtual speaker. For item one, we have one virtual speaker. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So when I call your name, please state your name, spell your last name, and then begin your comments. Clarence Nicholas. Clarence Nicholas. Okay. He may not be on the platform. That was the only speaker registered to speak.
Okay, Mr. Nicholas, if you find your way to the platform, we'll check in again and give you an opportunity to testify as we move on. So now I will go to committee members. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director O'Halloran.
Thank you, Chair Gokul Gandhi. For the first question, or the first part of the presentation, the speaker noted that only 27% had responded. Do we have any insights into if certain schools are overrepresented or underrepresented, like where the responses came from, that we may be able to do other outreach, or just, is there anything to learn about who's responding within that 27%?
Administration.
Director O'Halloran and Chair Okagandi, Carrie Scholl's American Institutes for Research. That is a great question. We did not conduct an analysis to look at overrepresentation. We did have incentives in place to try to increase. My experience conducting surveys, particularly here in the district, is that this was actually a pretty good response rate, given nationally, people are tired of surveys. So we were encouraged, but it's a great recommendation.
Any follow-up, Director O'Halloran?
Not necessarily about that. I did have one other question about the second part of the presentation. So District 8, which is the district that I represented, it has the highest percentage of participation by all students in this presentation, at least. Do we have any evidence, or, just kind of how the opportunities are being presented? Is that helping steer more students to this? Just trying to understand. I'm happy that, students in my district are taking advantage, but I would like to make sure that, all students who are interested, or, if they don't know about it, how can we make sure they know about it?
Administration.
Chair Gokangandi, Director O'Halloran, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. Are you talking about the mental health piece?
Like if you go to, we'll just say slide number 15, and it just says school board district 8 has the highest percentage of participation by all students. I think this is actually the tutoring. And so I was just wondering, you know, can we deduce anything from this? Are the schools in District 8 doing a better job of making this well-known to students? Like, can we model that for other districts? I don't want to decrease the enrollment in District 8, but I just want to make sure if there's something that is, you know, we're doing well here, can we replicate that in other districts?
Okay, thank you for that explanation.
Administration.
Sorry. We have Dr. Hill here that can talk more about tutoring.
Chair Gopal Gandhi, Director O'Halloran, members of the committee, John Hill, Director of College Career Readiness. We do try to inform all of the schools about tutoring opportunities. So this data really represents the first year of tutoring. So I would anticipate you would see some changes in year 2. So not only do we use the traditional methods of communicating to schools to engage with tutoring, so through Thursday updates, contacting principals, and then schools themselves have to kind of say, yes, I want to do it, no, I don't want to do it. And then they have to also determine what type they want to do, whether it's going to be after school with their staff or during school with vendors, individual, small group. So once they kind of determine that and say, yes, we have the capacity to do this, then, you know, we engage with them. We also have provided virtual tutoring for students and families. We've sent out information directly to families about the virtual tutoring. So if I'm at a school maybe that didn't engage with tutoring, I still could access tutoring for my child through the virtual tutoring.
Director O'Halloran, any follow-up? Director Simpson?
Thank you, Chair Gokul-Gandhi. Just two things. One, with the level of challenges that some of the staff reported related to reading and our English learners, I'm wondering if some of that is the plan to address some of that in the professional development that teachers can choose to receive.
Administration.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, yes, that is something that we do through our learning management system. We're always looking for ways that we can support our teachers to make sure that their professional development goes forward. And so, yes, that will be correct. However, we are also looking for avenues to ensure that we're able to do that depending on whatever it is, depending on the curriculum. There's a number of different things that are done through the Office of Academics to make sure, as well as all of our professional learning institutes with our principals, is geared around that. And we also have monthly institutes with various other individuals, such as SSTs, assistant principals, and supervisors within the district as well.
Director Simpson. Oh. Administration.
Chair Herndon, Director, was it O'Halloran or Simpson? I was in my way and I didn't know who asked the question. Simpson. Johnny Eckstein, Social Studies Curriculum Specialist. When we offer our professional development to our teachers, we give an opportunity for teachers to explore the curriculum in both English and in Spanish, because it comes in both languages. So if they're a ESL teacher or something like that, they have the opportunity to explore the curriculum in both languages.
Thank you. Yeah, and I mean, thank you for kind of raising the point that obviously this isn't challenging just for social studies, but other content areas. These are similar themes that come up. So thank you for addressing that and acknowledging that that's part of our professional development plan. The other thing is just related to the dashboard and the districts that are maybe not using the tutoring or the mental health services as much. Are we targeting them in a different way in terms of encouraging participation?
Administration?
Chair Gokangandi, Director Simpson, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. We have worked so hard with the ESSER funding. We meet weekly and we discuss issues pertaining to participation and what can we do about it, and learn from each other. All the leads for each of the projects learn from each other in that way. So they have, especially going into the second year, thought of new ways that they can increase participation, especially in the tutoring and other, and not just tutoring and mental health, but other activities we've had, like after-school clubs, et cetera. And Kim is going to talk to us more about that.
Director Simpson, Chair Gokagandi, members of the committee, Kim Marath, Social Emotional Learning Supervisor. So the mental health services that are represented in the dashboard are specific to the schools that are a part of our school community partnership for mental health. So prior to ESSER, that existed in 24 schools. With the ESSER funding, we were able to expand to 39, but that is the only schools that are represented in that dashboard. And so when we selected schools to expand, we were looking at the geographic regions of the district, not necessarily the school board regions, which is what's reflected in the dashboard. And so we were looking at kind of creating some equity and increasing the number of schools from across the city that are represented in that. But because it is limited, you will see that reflected in the school board regions that you see.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, sorry. Any follow-up? I should have asked that first. Any other questions? Okay, yes, Director Leonard.
I don't quite know how to word this, but with the upcoming financial cliff with ESSER funds, and if we're only reaching, and I'm going to give this as an example, this is one of probably 50, with only 39 schools being represented, what's the prognosis on that?
Administration?
Director Leonard, Chair Gokagandi. So that is one of the reasons we have slowly expanded the SEPMH project, is because we don't want to ever be in a position where we're having to say we don't have money to support this any further. Knowing that the ESSER funds were time limited, we did apply for last year and received a Project Aware grant from SAMHSA. And so that is maintaining the funding in those schools through December of 2026, at which point we will continue to look at how we can sustain funding for those schools. We'll also continue to look for funding to be able to expand services as well.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, and our grants department are always looking for other opportunities to write grants, to partner with other agencies around that so that we can bring more mental health services to our students.
Great. Any follow-up, Director Leonard?
No, not really. And then I guess I have to ask this question also. Staffing for mental health services, how is that working? Because there was a challenge in the beginning with ESSER funds. I know we did increase the number that we were able to hire, but I know that I do not believe we ever reached the limit that we needed, or the capacity that we needed.
Administration?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, at this time, Dr. Travis Pinter will address that question. Pinter.
Thank you. Director Leonard, Chair Gokagandi, members of the committee, we're actually pretty strong in our staffing numbers, and I want to make the distinction here. What Kim was just talking about for SCPMH, those are our partnerships with outside providers, and so they also provide their own therapists. And so in those schools, we're talking about therapists hired through one of the currently 5 different vendors. But our staff, when I think of our broader mental health support staff being psychologists, social workers, and counselors primarily, our numbers are pretty strong. And we have some of the best ratios that I'm aware of in terms of student to staff.
Any follow-up, Director Leonard?
No, we're good. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that.
Any other questions from committee members? Okay, I have two questions for you. One, do you do benchmarking for any other districts across the nation?
Chair Okogandi, Carrie Scholes, American Institutes for Research, not currently.
Not
no.
currently. Are you aware of any trends, or do you benchmark MPS to other urban districts across the country?
I know you expressed interest in this the first time I was here, so we did look into that a bit, and largely districts are investing those districts who serve students with the most needs have been primarily investing in facilities more than other aspects, not those that we've been talking about this evening. So
Okay.
that's what I've learned so far.
Sure, and I guess I'm curious to know what their participation percentages look like. So if we fall in the median, are we doing, are we on track? And so I'm wondering if there's any way you could pull that data. I'd be curious to see that.
We'll continue to look into that because studies like these are underway, so there aren't a lot of available public information, but I'll bring that back to the team.
Great. And then my second question is, so we have some baseline data now. What is the plan for targeted goals or incremental successes as the year progresses? So are we saying we want to go from 10 to 12%? I'm wondering what the goal setting looks like now that we have some preliminary data on participation.
Chair Golkangandi, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. As I mentioned before, we meet weekly, and staff from AIR also meets with us during that time. And so we discuss these results and plan for further evaluation and what we can do to better collect data in a meaningful way. So we are continuing with the evaluation and have plans for further information to come to the board about ESSER funding. And Dr. Schultz, could you mention what are some next steps of what we'd like to bring to the board?
Chair Okogandi, members of the committee, Carrie Scholes, American Institutes for Research. So we have sense-making sessions with the leads. So we are digging into these data right now to talk about how to better improve any additional survey items for social studies, how to improve focus group, that protocol. So we're having those conversations and now looking at the data that we have for the GIS map to have those exact discussions. So we have not landed on any set targets, but are in the midst of making sense and planning forward.
So I think it would be prudent for us to review those targets when they come back so that we aren't just coming to this at the end of the year and saying, oh no, we forgot to ask you if you had met your goals, or we want to investigate the strategies by which you achieve those goals. So I don't know what that administration, if you could provide a timeline on when we can see some articulated goals and targets and percentage numbers, that would be great. And the other thing is, are you worried at all that you're going to administer this survey again next month? You were talking about people being exhausted by taking surveys. So when did they take the survey, and how much lead time has happened in between the last survey that was administered and the one you'll administer now?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Carrie Scholes, American Institutes for Research. We administered it last February, and so it's about a year. So we think that's a prime time in terms of preventing us from running into spring break and other things as the school year winds down. So we'd like to continue with that plan. The concern for survey exhaustion is real, and we'll continue to have the social studies team promote their desire to have these surveys completed, as well as communicate how the results really matter and teachers' voices matter in these conversations.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, first of all, thank you for that question, and that's something that we can take a closer look at and look at the first year as baseline data so that we got a starting point so that we can move forward, and this next year will be moving off of that. However, looking at all of the leads and talking about what are those goal-setting items look like and seeing what we can do to around goal setting to just make sure that we are making smart goals around this and we would be more than happy to bring that back the next time we come together.
I'm going to task the Office of Board Governance to communicate with administration to figure out a good time to bring back some goal-setting numbers that we can review.
So noted.
Thank you. Any other comments? Director Herndon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had a question on usability, specifically slide 8. I think it's 8 or 9. Anyways, my concern or question was related to elementary teachers reporting challenges with the format and challenges with the reading levels and insufficient supports for English learners. How do you plan to address that, or will there be more study going on prior to we get some data on what was done to improve this? Because if there's problem with usability, then the end is not going to be too great.
Administration.
Chair Gokagandi, Director Herndon, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. These results were in the beginning of the social studies implementation, and it always takes a while for a teacher to get used to new curriculum and kind of let go of what they're used to. Change is difficult, and we have some more information that's going to be provided.
Chair Gogagandi, members of the committee, Jenny Eckstein, in regards to the usability of the curriculum, the survey was literally done 2 months after most teachers received their textbooks. So that comes into play a lot. But I also want to let you know that from the time the textbooks were adopted to now, we have offered 31 elementary professional developments on these textbooks. So a lot of it comes with that when we talk about usability and time and being able to do it, teachers being able to give up their time to come and learn about what's happening. We offer these professional developments in a teacher institute format, which is a requirement. We offer these after school, and we offer it a ton in the summer. So as moving forward, we would like to offer a lot of professional development in the planning aspect of this, meaning that getting teachers together by grade level to just look at the stuff and plan together, because then usability will be so much better.
Any follow-up?
Thank you, no follow-up.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, Madam Secretary. Next item, please.
I believe there's another segment to the
There's another
presentation.
segment, just kidding. We're going to go right back to where we started. Oh, cool. Well, there's a lot of things to look at when you chair a meeting. Administration.
Thank you. Chair Gogagandi, members of the committee, my name is Shelley Perkins, Director of State and Federal Programs. We are excited to have the opportunity to provide you with updates on our final activities related to ESSER 2, which ended September 30th, 2023. The purpose of this presentation is to share ESSER 2 accomplishments and the total amount claimed of ESSER 2 budgets last brought to the Milwaukee Board of School Directors on October 24th, 2023. The final budget detail which you received reflects expenditures from grant inception through September 30th, 2023, which were claimed by the due date. As we look at our 5 priorities for success, ESSER is a critical component across all 5 areas. Tonight's presentation, coupled with stakeholder engagement, aligns with the strategic plan as we focus on fiscal responsibility and transparency. We will be presenting highlights of ESSER 2 as of September 30th, 2023, along with recommendations for ESSER activities to continue. I will now turn it over to Dr. Hill and Dr. Sappho so they can share ESSER 2 highlights related to accelerated learning priority.
Good evening, Chair Gogol Gandhi, members of the board, Felicia Saffold, Senior Director of Curriculum and Instruction. We were able to accomplish a great deal with ESSER 2 funds, and we will share some of the highlights with you today. In literacy, we were able to purchase standards-aligned writing resources for grades pre-K through 12th grade. This curriculum material provides explicit writing instruction and outlines the process for teachers to facilitate standards-aligned explicit writing lessons. We were also able to provide professional development to launch the Writers' Workshop. Over 600 teachers attended professional development that supports the implementation of the MPS instructional design for writing, the Writing Workshop Framework, and strategies that can be implemented during the Writers' Workshop. Educators were trained using the newly adopted endorsed resources for writing, spelling, and handwriting. The funding also created opportunities to meet monthly with cohorts of teachers as they learned about writing strategies and applied the new learning in their classrooms. As the teachers utilized the support and training around writing, we are pleased to report that 7,000 children participated and presented during our district's first ever Poetry Slam and the 2021-22 and the 22-23 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Writing Contest. Finally, in reading, ESSER funds have been used to host summer reading institutes with a focus on small group reading instruction. Approximately 900 educators have taken a part of these institutes over the past 2 years. We have ensured our teachers have the knowledge and training to meet the demands of the science of reading. In addition, approximately 1,500 teachers received supplementary materials such as magnetic letters and letter trays, picture sort cards, comprehension strategy cards, and materials to support instruction in small groups. These purchases and training support the ambitious instruction goal for reading, which is to prepare all students to read at grade level. We are beginning to see growth in STAR data, particularly in the area of early literacy. We have also been able to provide letters professional development training to improve reading instruction, which we believe will be one of the suggested PD for Act 20. To sustain reading skills and mitigate learning loss in summer, ESSER funds allowed us to develop and implement the Passport to Reading project to promote summer reading. This project became a community-wide initiative that gained the attention of local media. In our art, music, and Phi-Ed departments, we were also able to accomplish a lot through ESSER 2 funding. We provided digital audio workstation, soundtrack, access to more than 30,000 MPS students and teachers during 2021-22, 22-23 school years. Students used Soundtrap to compose beats and loops similar to the music they love to listen to. We purchased 2,200 ukuleles, ukulele carts for more than 50 schools, and more than 150 guitars. In addition, funding was used to clean and repair instruments. We hired a visual arts teacher leader to provide coaching and professional development to all visual arts educators in traditional middle and high schools. We were able to provide coaching support to all high schools and middle school teachers, specifically those in their first 2 years in the district. The positions also provided professional development and workshops to enhance teacher practice. MPS student musicians were able to participate in the WSMA solo and ensemble and large group festival competitions. They were also able to have a variety of music experiences, such as attending an opera performance and opportunities to perform in the community. In our dual enrollment program, we were able to fund the M-Cubed College Connections program, nursing and education pathways for 2022-23 school years with students participating from schools across MPS. A total of 151 students earned 1,840 credits, And in 2022-2023, 138 students earned 1,795 credits. 3 students earned licensed practical nursing degrees while still in high school. A total of 4 high school students in spring and 4 high school students in summer 2023 successfully completed education internships in MPS elementary school classrooms. Expanded opportunities for MPS high school students to earn college credits through the dual enrollment program in 2021-2022 and 2022-2023. Courses were offered at Bradley Tech, Hamilton, Obama, Madison, Marshall, Milwaukee High School of the Arts, Reagan, Riverside, South, and during Summer Academy. We offered graduate courses in English, mathematics, or a specific world language at UW-Milwaukee to enable MPS teachers to become certified to teach dual enrollment classes. A total of 19 MPS high school teachers are enrolled. We were able to provide trainings on how to use the materials and resources for the textbook adoptions. We offered over 250 after-school professional development sessions in reading, science, social studies, math, writing, planning for biliteracy, and advanced academics. An additional benefit was that we were able to secure contracts with Instruction Partners, a DPI-recommended organization, to get help with rolling out our new adoptions and how to implement a high-quality math curriculum pilot. And finally, in our early childhood, we were able to renew the Lexia program, which is a personalized reading program that targets skill gaps as they emerge. We have had much success with the development of early literacy skills. We were also able to provide 3 supporting oral language in the early years sessions for the community, February through May in 2022, with St. Vincent College. This series helped teachers to improve daily interactions between them and their students. We are so proud of the things we were able to accomplish and provide for students through ESSER II funding. There are just a few more highlights that we would like to share. I will now turn it over to Dr. Hill.
Chair Gokul Gandhi, members of the committee, I'm Dr. John Hill, Director of College Career Readiness. Some additional highlights from accelerating learning in ESSER II include mathematics. We purchased early childhood math resources books for use during early childhood teacher professional development, books for math teachers for book studies, and 1 to 20 number paths distributed to students. There are 13 school teams in the Leading Math Project. We have met 3 times during the school year for 3 hours each time. Participants attended a 2-day summer institute in July 2023 for 6 hours each day. The project goal is to support principals and teachers in developing content, leadership knowledge, and skills in the area of K-5 mathematics. Principals and teachers work together to build competency and capacity in leading mathematics. District's initiatives in K-5 mathematics are central to the project, and to date we have explored counting collections, ST math, and key components of the Envision math curriculum. 100% of early childhood teachers at the project schools have been trained and are implementing the counting collections routine. ST math usage in the project schools is double that of the non-project schools. Some of the comments from principals include, I have been wanting to be more of an instructional leader, and this has allowed me to better understand the content and how to support teachers. And I have shared the research on the importance of early childhood math connected to students' achievement. I have noticed how joyful and engaged classrooms doing counting collections and quick images are. In our next area, career and technical education, we offer personal finance programming in 24 high schools with teachers accumulating over 1,500 hours of professional development. A total of 1,817 students took the course in 22-23, and the passing rate of personal finance course increased from 66% in 21-22 to 76% for semester 1 in 22-23. We were able to add 2 years of funding for the personal finance mentor teacher, ensuring support for schools and personal finance teachers across the district. Numerous community partners were involved to provide advice and supplement the curriculum with guest speakers and events and activities like the Finance and Investment Challenge Bowl, Reality Check Day, and Stock Market Game. Nursing assistant labs were installed at Hamilton, JMAC North, and South Division. All 4 labs were approved for instruction by the Department of Health Services before the start of the 22-23 school year. All facilities work and purchase of equipment is complete. We contracted with Gateway Technical College the first year because MATC did not have the capacity to do so. A total of 42 students from Hamilton, Madison, and South participated in the nursing assistant course, and 33 passed the course. That's 79% pass rate, earning 2 college credits through Gateway. The barber cosmetology lab at Obama High School was completely refurbished with new furniture, supplies, and equipment and flooring. One section of the barber cosmetology course was run each semester. In 22-23, all 14 students enrolled earned 3 college credits from MATC in barber cosmetology 300 and barber cosmetology 324. Textbook adoption. It's a major area for us. Purchased social studies textbooks and consultants build teacher capacity. Provided professional development during the summer of 2022 after school and during teacher institutes for all social studies teachers K-12, 85 sessions on the effective usage of new materials. We've been working with the consultant to provide teachers with additional resources that bring forward diverse voices that are often ignored. The IPSSC work was rolled out to grades 3 to 6 on August 30th, 2023. Purchased materials to support engagement and multiple perspectives. And we have developed curriculum guides for our high school required courses like ethnic studies, psychology, and sociology. We have been able to support all these content areas with new guides and additional resources. Science. Through ESSER, ESSER 2 funding, we were able to complete a science textbook adoption as well. ESSER funded a climate justice specialist and supported the work of bringing climate education library to all K-5 schools in MPS. The ESSER funding enabled us to purchase 6 state-of-the-art 3D anatomy tables for 6 high schools to give our students opportunities to experience a hands-on, minds-on tools that allow them to collaborate and engage in limitless virtual dissections, physiology simulations, and pathology examinations. In addition, we procured 14 classroom hydroponic gardens and provided direct support to teachers to set up, maintain, and integrate them into their science curriculum. With the support of MPS Foundation, GE, and ESSER funds, we hosted our largest STEM fair ever. 54 schools with 600 students participated in the 2023 MPS District STEM Fair. 268 student projects were presented and 18 community organizations interacted with the students as exhibitors. This was a 50% increase in schools and a 71% increase in students participating and a 39% increase in the number of community exhibitors from the previous year. Teachers have been given many opportunities during summer to receive pay and attend professional development for the K-8 adoptions. They were provided paid opportunities after school to take deeper dives into the resources with textbook representatives, and we continue to offer sessions for all new adoptions. Instructional technology. We provided professional development for educators to incorporate technology tools into their practices. Purchased additional technology tools like Edpuzzle to support world language learning. Using both district trainers and external partners, nearly 100 professional learning opportunities have been offered. We purchased Prayer Deck and other student engagement formative assessment tool. Nearpod. Over 13,000 participants engaged in a Nearpod lesson in January 2023 alone. 22-23, 10 schools hosted 15 telepresence classes to provide more course options for students across the district. On Saturdays, after school, and throughout the summer, thousands of teachers attended professional learning sessions facilitated by Discovery Education, Adobe, and MPS instructional technology courses. Advanced academic, well, one more. Teachers delivered over 13,000 presentations through Pear Deck 2023 alone, which engaged 30,470 students with assessments, exit tickets, bell ringers, and discussion prompts. Over 15,650 students joined a Nearpod lesson in 2022-23. Advanced academics. Executed the advanced placement summer bridge programs at the following sites: Alliance, Riverside, Milwaukee School of Languages, and Golden Meir. Offered advanced placement breakfast club and international baccalaureate Saturday academies during the 22-23 school year to support advanced placement students and provide planning time for teachers. 136 students and 17 AP teachers participated in the AP Summer Bridge during summer 2022 to gain better understanding of AP course content. Teachers participated in professional development sessions to support gifted and talented and AP students. This project funded 13 AP teachers to attend training during the summer of 2023. 103 high-ability sixth grade students participated in college days for kids over 2 years. Teachers self-reported via exit tickets, being more informed and prepared to provide instruction and support the needs of gifted and talented and AP students across the district. Next slide. So as you can see, ESSER 2 covered quite a bit. ESSER 2 and 3 covered 107 different projects in accelerated learning alone. The following slides contain recommendations for project continuation and the estimated yearly amount needed. As we met, a priority was given to direct services to students. So on slide 6, we see textbook adoption, dual enrollment, tutoring, in-person and virtual, pre-college experiences, which would include summer camps, busing, transportation, work-based learning. A large expense is, again, transportation for our students, and music experiences, where we had students were able to engage in competitions and get transportation to those events.
Chair Gogolgande, members of the board, Felicia Saffold, Senior Director of Curriculum and Instruction. We also would like to recommend that we continue to support the high-quality materials, in particular Nearpod and Seesaw. And then with that, we would recommend dropping some of the older technology that no longer is as popular in the schools. We'd also like to recommend that we continue to purchase science kits, and we are currently working with the foundation and other funders to get some funding for those initiatives. Professional development is something that we eagerly hope to continue in order for tuition assistance for teacher preparation and credentialing programs. We need to consider ongoing PD for the adoptions. Act 20 is right around the corner. We will need to have professional development to strengthen early childhood. And CTE, Project Lead the Way, Makerspace, and Fab Lab fees. Those are all things that we'd like to continue. Counting collections, you've heard that more than a couple times. but to continue to train teachers and support teachers who have not started the counting collections. And then finally, the personal finance mentor teacher to continue through next generation personal finance grant. And then with family engagement is something that we feel that we definitely have to support, the Milwaukee Parent Institute and the Family Engagement Day at Discovery World. These have been very highly initiatives that we would like to continue.
Chair Gogol-Gandhi, members of the committee, on slide 9, we are looking at district staff that have been at times funded through ESSER, which would include both school-based staff and support staff at the district level. The school support teachers, AMP teachers, extra hours for staff, and then percentage of paraprofessional salary increase. And then on slide 10, to wrap it up, for accelerated learning, we recommend new and international teacher support, the Milwaukee virtual program, Montessori expansion, and the work we've been doing with our school teams through continuous school improvement. And I now turn it over to Dr. Travis Pinter.
Thank you. Chair Gogol-Gandhi, members of the committee, Travis Pinter, Senior Director of Specialized Services. I'm happy to be given the opportunity to speak with you this evening about the health and wellness portion of ESSER 2. The first slide is a reminder of the fall presentation on ESSER 2, which emphasized the highlights within health and wellness. You'll recall that through our funding, we made teletherapy available to all students, expanded SCPMH to 39 schools, trained our mental health staff in evidence-based methodologies, made improvements to our employee assistance program, hired additional social workers and counselors, expanded the work of several key areas and anti-racism PD, and made improvements and new construction across our school playgrounds, fitness facilities, and the Potter's Forest Ropes course. You'll find all of our accomplishments outlined in the final ESSER budget detailed document. So we were able to build in sustainability in much of what we accomplished in health and wellness, and this slide is highlighting that. You'll see on this list that there are completed one-time projects such as buildings and equipment, in addition to testing and additional assessments that were vital during and just after the pandemic, but that are no longer needed, at least to the degree we experienced. We also took care of, as much as possible, contracts with training programs that built in a trainer-of-trainer model. So this has allowed us to train key personnel in our psychology and social work departments, for example, that can continue to refresh our current staff and train new staff on a yearly basis. There were other key areas, such as nutrition costs and the Success Center, that are listed here, which were supplemented with ESSER but do not require the continuation of those funds in order to sustain their services. And lastly, we were able to shift the expenses of our SCPMH expansion, as Kim mentioned earlier, to our recently acquired RISE grant, and most of our staff positions have already been shifted out of ESSER. So my recommendations are on this slide, and you'll see that the table before you outlines recommendations as well as likely costs should these continue at the degree they did during ESSER. Considering the district's continued emphasis on the importance of mental health for our students and staff, we'd like to continue providing teletherapy, supplying mental health support staff for summer programming, and providing more robust EAP services for staff. The good news is that my team has already found a likely grant source that would allow us to continue these mental health related items. Additional areas to consider extending beyond ESSER are the funding levels that supplemented BLMA, gender identity and inclusion, and restorative practices. Among other things, these funds help maintain staffing levels and provide training and school supports from these programs. At this point, I'm turning it over to Sean Kane to speak about facilities and maintenance.
Thank you, Dr. Pinter. Chair Gogol-Gandhi, members of the committee, Sean Kane, Senior Director for Facilities and Maintenance Services. In regards for facilities utilizing ESSER 2 funds, the facilities team addressed concerns within buildings by mitigating the spread of COVID-19. The efforts include the review of air quality within buildings, implement procedures to promote social distancing, and procuring items for personal protective equipment, PPE. The following tasks were accomplished. Contractors known as Integrated Project Delivery Contractors, IPDs for short, were hired to perform design and construction services through a formal bidding process that conformed to Board Policy 3.09. There were 4 IPD contractors that were assigned to schools within 4 regions of the district. IPD contractors assessed all MPS buildings to confirm scopes. Some of the scopes include testing and balancing of mechanical systems that was done throughout the district. This would be an equivalent to a ventilation audit related to air quality. When mechanical systems were deemed deficient, millions of dollars on deferred maintenance repairs and upgrades were completed. This endeavor cost about $50 million. There was an installation of 530 water bottle stations after existing and antiquated drinking fountain units were removed. That was over $5 million. Outdoor classrooms with overhead structures or organic landscaping features were constructed across the district. That approached $6 million. Missing bug screens that were fabricated be placed on existing windows, and some minor window replacement projects were completed. That scope was about $15 million across the district. Outdated carpeting was torn out and replaced with new carpeting and/or floor refinishing, which was the equivalent of 1.5 million square feet of flooring. This is a significant amount of flooring that was much needed across the district, and that approached $10 million. An owner's representative consulting firm with a few limited term employees, LTEs, were hired to expand the staffing levels in facilities and assist with other project manager tasks, inspection, and coordination with schools with other departments. DFMS was challenged with a limited team of current project managers. DFMS created health and safety protocols that were implemented across the district-wide by installing signage to promote social distancing, providing cleaning staff to sanitize spaces within buildings, increase the amount of outside air in mechanical systems while changing out filtration systems more frequently, handing out products such as hand sanitizers, paper towels, cleaning materials, etc. during the pandemic. Doing some national research, I can assure you that MPS was in the top tier of school districts creating safe environments across the country. DFMS purchased 7,091 air purifiers or portable air filtration units for each classroom and shared spaces in the buildings, then providing replacement filters for each unit for the last couple years. Our team distributed PPE throughout the district that included masks, face shields, gowns, plexi guards be placed on desks, tables, and counters. Lastly, we purchased over $2 million in cleaning equipment such as floor scrubbers and other accessories in all buildings to improve cleanliness as it related to air quality. The next slide indicates cost recommendation for future funding needed for facilities. With the amount of air purifiers purchased, there is a filter replacement cost of approximately $285 for each filter cartridge. Unfortunately, the district had to come up with serious options to address reckless driving on the school sidewalks, playgrounds, and grass. Facilities spent about approximately $300,000 in purchasing concrete bollards that are placed in the sidewalk, pavement, and grass. There's an annual labor cost to moving the units off the sidewalks and into the grass to, like for now, allow snow removal in the winter and then place back on the pavement in the spring to prevent the reckless driving, but also to allow the grass to be cut. With the amount of additions we're constructing the ESSER 3 funds, there's going to be additional funds or costs needed for utilities. Next slide identifies funds needed to continue our successful and decades-long youth apprentice program for the trades like plumbing, electrical, mechanical, along with creating a pipeline for building operations. In addition, trade person mentors are needed to guide the youth. If no funding is provided here, the program will dissolve immediately. We currently staffed another much-needed project manager to address deferred maintenance projects. Lastly, with all the constructed additions, you'll need additional trades and building operations staff to repair and clean the additional square footage with all the additions that we put on. That concludes my piece for the facilities report, and I'm going to turn over to Mr. Chadmeyer.
Good evening, Director Gokul Gandhi, members of the committee, Chad Meyer, Senior Director, Department of Technology. Some accomplishments we'd like to highlight for the area of technology. We were able to purchase about 80,000 headsets, which we were able to send to schools for students to use. Schools got enough headsets for all the students enrolled in the school, as well as some extras to help with students, new students that arrived. There were over about 61,000 Chromebooks purchased to help with remote learning, as well as learning in the classroom. We purchased 47,870 power adapters to send home with students to, again, help with remote learning, as well as some Chromebook cases to make sure that the Chromebooks were able to go home and back to school protected. We also purchased 2,000 interactive flat panels, which replaced all the smart boards in the schools. So now the schools, all the classrooms have a 75-inch touchscreen flat panel, has a 5-year warranty, about a 10-year lifespan, so we should be good for the next 10 years with a high-quality instructional presentation device in each classroom. We also purchased document cameras for teachers to use with their students. And then we purchased 2,750 desktops to meet some upcoming Windows 11 requirements. The current desktops we had would not support Windows 11, which we have to have in place by next year. As far as some recommendations, these are, I guess, costs that we've been very fortunate to have ESSER funds for that we no longer have funds for. We'd like to have some funds available to refresh staff desktops in the classroom, making sure that teachers have a working computer that they can do their grades and other classroom materials. Is just a 5-year refresh. We're also looking to refresh Chromebooks in the classroom. This would be a 5-year refresh also. And then also we have a really great program that started through some of the technology funding in ESSER esports. They'll need some supplies to keep that program going. Currently, esports is at 18 middle and high schools. A really great program. Andrew Rosa, I got to give him a shout out. He's been doing a great job out of recreation with that program. Other recommendations that were moved to ESSER that we don't have funding sources identified for at this time. There were 6 IT service technician positions. Those are our techs that support the schools, repairing Chromebooks and supporting classroom needs. We also have some staffing that's being covered for esports right now that we'll need to find some funding for. And then with all the technology that we purchased with some of the things highlighted today, as well as some of the ESSER 3 items, we have some digital learning coaches that no longer will be funded also. Just making sure that we have people that can help support the teachers in the classrooms and making sure we're getting the most out of all the technology that was purchased. And then just some eSport league fees are highlighted here also. And I will turn it over to Lynn Greb at this time from Recreation.
Thank you, Chad, and good evening, Chair Gokul Gandhi and members of the committee. I'm Lynn Greb, Director of Recreation, and very excited to share some sneak peeks at some of the amazing projects that are happening or have happened within the district regarding extracurricular engagement. It's interesting because this is ESSER 3. I know you've been hearing a lot about ESSER 2. And as you may know, construction projects take quite a bit of time to evolve. And so we are excited to share on this slide some of the accomplishments that have happened to date for ESSER 3. If you have not seen the new synthetic turf field at Bradley Tech that was long overdue for replacement, that has been installed and has been used this past fall. If you have not seen the new South Division Field House, I invite you out on February 24th when we will be officially reopening, although the students are playing on that court as we speak, and it's beautiful. So it's a gem of the district, and we're super excited about that. We have installed the after-school busing, so we have 23 buses rolling after school. It has been a challenge to get drivers, and the timing is always a challenge to find buses immediately after school, so we continue to work on that project. We have finished 4 locations that have received upgrades to their tennis courts. They're now blue surfacing, which is new for us, but it looks vibrant and hopefully draws more students into the tennis program. 1,800 students completed driver education with the ESSER funding we received. And then lastly, as you know, we shared a video of the overnight camp project that we had 163 students attend, and we're now preparing to offer that opportunity to schools this spring, and then we'll be sending more students to camp this summer. And then on the horizon, I feel like we're on the cusp of really changing the look of our district in terms of athletic facilities. So we will be completing all 5 pool renovations. Again, if you have not seen Riverside's pool, it's the first one that has been reopened. It's beautiful, it's bright, and I know some people have already swam in it, and I'm getting good reviews. So we're excited to add 4 additional pools onto that. We will be starting the renovations of North Division and Vincent Field houses, long overdue, but they will look as great as South Division's does. We will begin construction next door at Wick Field to install a synthetic turf baseball and softball diamonds, first ever for our district. We will finish up the remaining 3 tennis court facilities, and then we have some enhancements to Vincent and Pulaski stadiums. And then finally, there'll be new bleachers installed for 19 of our high school gyms. The ones you see there are from South Division, so they'll be color coordinated to the schools' colors and nice for seating and watching athletics. So next slide. These are the post-ESSER recommendations we have that we feel we can absorb in our current athletic budget, which includes continuing free sports physicals. The athletic trainer services with Children's Wisconsin has been amazing, so we'll continue that, as well as study opportunities after school for high school athletes, and then credentialing our after-school staff is another area we will continue to do. And then lastly, these are the areas that we do need to identify some funding for. Is we'd love to continue the overnight camping project, expansion of MPS Drive. We'd like to continue opening additional spots for that. After-school transportation has been a high request. And then lastly, out-of-school time clubs that many of our schools have been using ESSER funds for.
Chair Gokongandi, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. I just want to give a big shout out to the leads for all these projects. As you can see, it's been so much work, and they had just over 2 years to do all this work. So you can imagine having $225 million to spend, the time it would take to just plan all of this and then implement, and then finish on time and have everything claimed on time. It was amazing work, so I'm so proud of the team. This is just showing a total of what is recommended to continue through the ESSER funding. It comes to $88 million. Some of these items were part of the shortfall that we were talking about, like, for example, textbooks. Textbooks are normal school district expenditures that we should have in our regular budget. Some of these items are supplemental to our work that we do, but they attracted a lot of students, and we think that they should continue. That comes to $88 million, and all of the ESSER 2 funding was about $225 million, and ESSER 3 was $505 million, for a total of $730 million. So about $80 million of suggested items to continue out of those 2 grants. And some of the items that we didn't suggest were one-time costs, or they were used to mitigate the pandemic impact on MPS. And we thank you so much for your time today. If you have any questions.
Madam Secretary, let's take any public testimony we might have on this item first.
The audience member who registered to speak did want to speak on this segment. That's Mr. Quentin Claiborne. If you would please state your name, spell your last name, and then give your comments.
Thank you again for that. Quentin Claybon, Klabon. I actually did not pre-write a speech that I'll spit at you 200 words a minute this time because I wanted to see how the discussion and presentations went. And I guess if there's one criticism that I typically levy at the board, it would be that you need to move from like an asset-based mindset to a results-based mindset. Like oftentimes what's talked about is we purchased 20X or we had 40X participants. And the most effective districts say, if we do X, we will produce Y. And so it was actually really encouraging in both of these presentations to see like some real specificity. Like I'm a nerd and I want to know more, but like for a public presentation, there was actually real specificity. We had, we're funding M cubed, our students getting nursing credits. We heard about that. We funded Success Center. Is it doing anything? We purchased new curriculum. The results are what? I heard STAR scores are moving a little bit. Hopefully we hear about that next month. So I just wanted to say that's really, really encouraging. And I guess I'd encourage all conversations in 2024 to be that and even more focused on results and not just we need X to spend on Y. Rather, how can we drive results within the district, which would improve the city? So I just wanted to push you on two things. One, I'll harp on it for literacy. That's the killer app that's going to change things for the district. The curriculum and letters and everything was purchased, but it's really important that the public understands what's happening, and it's important that people who are watching you understand. I was in Madison today to talk about teacher apprenticeships, which I hope you all do. And I can tell you, like we talked about literacy, and you may think that people have written you off from the rest of the state. If this literacy reform doesn't work in Milwaukee, you definitely will be written off. So please bring that up in meetings, talk about it as often as Madison does every month or two. And secondly, I just wanted to talk about ESSER facilities. I know that you all are going to referendum. I did want to point out if there's an operating referendum asked, we saw in both the extracurriculars and in the facilities segment that we essentially had a 9-figure capital referendum under the guise of ESSER 2 and 3. So I did just want to point that out as we go to operating referendum. Thanks for your time.
Do you know if the individual who was registered for the virtual platform, if they ever made it on the virtual platform?
Madam Chair, I'm told that Mr. Nicholas has not joined the platform.
Okay,
so that would be
great.
the last speaker.
Okay, great. We will go to committee members for comments, questions, or concerns. Director O'Halloran.
Thank you, and this is a really easy question, probably. For on the horizon for spring, there's enhancements to Vincent and Pulaski Stadium, and I was wondering if Pulaski will include a concession stand, because we have some, I know this sounds so nitpicky, but we have like a fantastic booster club at Reagan, and we have one mom in particular who like literally brings in tables and like runs a generator and like all of this, because the South Stadium has a fantastic concession stand, and we kind of have to like duct tape together our own, concession stand at Pulaski. So will we be getting a concession stand?
Administration.
Chair Gokul Gandhi, Director O'Halloran, members of the committee, Lynn Greb, Director of Recreation, yes.
Any follow-up?
Nope.
Aside from excitement.
So excited to hear
Great.
that. I'll let people ask more hard-hitting questions.
Great. Do any other committee members wish to make comments, ask questions? Yes, Director Leonard.
So I actually will mirror what Mr. Cleavon said about apprenticeships. I've had the opportunity to see our programs in action at MPS. I forget the number, I think it was 16 people were in the Facilities and Maintenance Apprenticeship Program. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe they are all hired through MPS. And that's just one of many. I make it my habit of checking those X's and Y's all the time to see exactly what we really are producing when we put that kind of money into our programs. I will say that looking at this when I first got elected and looking at the quagmire of doing the ESSER grants, it was a challenge to put together something. I think overall MPS has done a good job with this. I really do. I mean, it was very challenging. It's a massive district. It's very complex. My concern, without any question, goes back to that first statement I made with regards to how we are going to continue to produce at the level we're producing with the fear of that fiscal cliff. And I think it's something that it takes a serious consideration. I thank you for presenting all of this so that we have a very much more clear picture of what the challenges are before us. Thank you.
Administration?
Chair Gokul Gandhi, Director Leonard, members of the committee, Sean Kane, Senior Director for Facilities Maintenance Services. Yeah, we do understand the importance. I mean, this is a great, successful program that's been going on for over 2 decades. As usual, anytime you start something, it doesn't start off easy. And as we keep moving forward, working with Career Tech Ed, with Dr. Hill and Eric Radomski, right now our team's trying to look forward and even to the future of how we can expand this program, because there's some great partners that we're working with currently right now. The state's been very helpful. I mean, it's a great program where students can get paid, earn hours towards their apprenticeship, which normally you'd have to wait till you graduate high school to go do that in the private sector. So it's one of those things that they're getting ahead of the game. It's a great program, and it's a need, because as we all know, we have trades individuals that are aging out. And right now we have retirements coming. So we look at it, it's a great opportunity for that. But then as well, that everyone kind of forgets that you can make a great career out of being in building operations. I mean, there are building engineers that make 6 figures, and people kind of forget that, like, I mean, it's another great opportunity. So we're trying to create a pipeline for that. And I guess, I'll turn over to Dr. Hill, but I think we got a pathway. We just got to work on where things are at.
Chair Gandhi, Director Leonard, members of the committee, John Hill, Director of College Career Readiness. I would echo what Sean said, and I would also add that ESSER not only really was able to fund the facilities and maintenance youth apprentices, but it also supported quite a number of other youth apprentices in terms of transportation. It has supported internships. You'll be hearing a little later about the students that are interning right within our own schools, our own elementary schools, to try to build a pipeline of educators as well. So it really not only in terms of being able to provide the salary for the students, to provide that work-based learning opportunity. The transportation has been critical for our students.
Any follow-up, Director Leonard? Great. Any other questions? Director O'Halloran?
I did want to share that I unofficially declared today Thank an Engineer Day, because when I pulled up to drop my son off at school, I was just very thankful to see the engineer out there spreading all the salt. I know that, to your point, it's kind of, there may be a member of the staff that sometimes go unappreciated as a career option and for all the work that they do. So just wanted to shout out our engineers today. I know that this really mainly focused on ESSER 2, but I know we have, speaking on facilities, I know we have a number of the additions going on. Are there any concerns with supply chain or competition with other projects around the area that we should be aware of moving into kind of that ESSER 3 timeframe then?
Administration?
Chair Gokul Gandhi, Director O'Halloran, members of the committee, Sean Kane, Senior Director for Facilities Maintenance Services. It's been a challenge for the last couple of years, ever since the pandemic, and a lot of times too, where we have a lot of projects out for bid. I mean, realistically, between working with Ms. Greb and their team, and then our construction projects, anywhere from a small thing, putting a water bottle station in, putting an addition on at a school, there's about 2,000 projects out there. And then when you're looking at Between all our parties, I mean, we're looking at $250 million that we're trying to spend over a 3-year span. So yes, you do pay a premium, trying to expedite that time frame. We've been very conscious of taking a look at budgets, seeing where we're at with things, been having a lot of conversations with the finance team and the grant team to see where we're able to get the biggest bang for the construction dollars. And yeah, I mean, right now materials, there's, some challenges here and there, but we've been trying to be proactive, reaching out to get new blood from, suppliers, vendors, contractors, et cetera. So we've been looking at avenues like that. I mean, we've been even looking at trying to solicit contractors from Minnesota, Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, you name it. Because right now, everyone's kind of pilfering each other, and that's just the reality. But we do understand that we have a time frame that we have to meet that goal, and we're taking a look at things and being, I would say, very mindful of what the budgets we're working within.
Any follow-up? Anything else from the administration? Okay. Secretary Koala.
Item 2.
Yes, please.
Item 2 is an update with possible action on the 2023-2028 strategic plan, quarter 2 review highlights and big wins. This is an informational item. Although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Okay, would the administration please present the item?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, this evening, the administration brings to you the second update on the 2023-2028 strategic plan process. Have Dr. Melanie Stewart, Director of Research Assessment and Data, along with the strategic team leaders who's with us this evening to walk us through, and after which we'll be more than happy to entertain any questions that you may have. Dr. Mayo.
Very good. Good evening, Director Gogol Gandhi, members of the committee. I'm Melanie Stewart, Director of Research Assessment and Data. This presentation, as we always say with our strategic plan, includes every one of the 5 priorities of success. And you're going to hear highlights tonight from some folks that are working day to day with the strategic plan. So you're going to see some new faces tonight. The strategic plan, which we began implementing in July, is now, we're through quarter 2, and we're starting the work of quarter 3. So tonight you're going to be hearing the highlights from each of these areas. The first one is one of the areas that we wanted to talk about is how we work together. One of the areas that we know is that oftentimes we work separately. And we have made a strategic effort to work together. So in right sizing, you can see we have the school administration, academics, human resources, and finances. So representatives from all of their office are working on that particular strategic initiative. Under student achievement and our graduation and post-secondary readiness, academics, School of Administration, and Chief of Staff, we are all working together to make certain that this strategic initiative moves forward. Additionally, our staff morale and professional learning includes academics, Chief of Staff, Human Resources, and School Administration staff. Finally, our special projects. I think every department in the district is involved in one of these plans or in multiples of these plans. These are highlighted, though, by communications, human resources, academics, and our nutrition team and finance. So one of the wins we have is we began working together and we continue to work together because all of these initiatives impact and need the guidance, knowledge, and skill of all of the people across all of the offices. Tonight, as we present, we are going to hear from leads. They will introduce themselves and then share their highlights and big wins so far.
Good evening, committee members. Nick Sinram, Director of Financial Planning and Budget Services. I'm here to talk about our efforts around increasing or enhancing outreach and engagement efforts involving the district's budget. And so our office had the opportunity to put our strategic goals into real-life practice surrounding the challenges associated with the 2025 budget. And so we conducted a number of outreach activities to solicit engagement from our staff, parents, and students. And these involved hosting budget action sessions. Some of these were conducted remotely. Some of them were conducted in the evenings and as well as on the weekends to provide a diverse opportunity for a diverse inputs. We also presented to the parents at the District Advisory Council, conducted a budget survey regarding the community's priorities for drivers of our budget challenges, and also our contracting. Currently, we're very excited about a contract that we're working with a vendor called Polco, who produces a product called Balancing Act. And this is a online interactive tool that allows for community engagement and input into budget priorities, and is I believe will be a very valuable tool for educating the public about the challenges that the district faces involving our budgets and budget development. So just like to thank all of the departments that assisted with these outreach sessions. Thank you for all of your help to the Department of Communications, or Office of Communications, Chris Thiel in Legislative Intergovernmental Relations, and Dr. Melanie Stewart. So thank you all for your assistance.
Chair Gokul Gandhi and members of the committee, Nicole Armendariz, Director of Communications and Marketing. Today I want to talk a little bit about some of the highlights in the Communications and Marketing Department, specifically our progress on websites and branding, which go hand in hand. So we are working on a district website project, but today I want to show you some highlights about our school websites. Since we've submitted these slides last week, we actually have better progress than is represented here. Currently, we have 8 school websites live, 1 undergoing final review, and we have 20 in progress. We have every board district and every region represented with at least 1 website in progress. And we have an LTE who is working specifically on researching and writing each website with our school webmaster, and they are ensuring that we have consistent content across all of our district websites so that we'll be able to maintain them all more easily in the future, and to ensure that we have consistent branding across all of our websites, not to mention new templates and new features. So we have a video here. I'm just going to talk over it just to give a little bit of a preview so you can just get a brief overview of what you would see. So this right here is just a look at what a typical current old website looks like, and here is the live website for Anna E. Derfler. You can see that it's got movement, it's very photo focused. This has the opportunity for schools to highlight their awards on the front page and specific storytelling messages, not to mention news and calendar events. We're also very happy about specific features, like we're going to add an attendance page, or we are adding attendance pages to all of our new sites. And we have a new feature so that every school that currently is in Spanish can be toggled between Spanish and English. So here's an example of how it looks on that same page that we just showed you. If you hover over the menu, that also gets translated instantly into Spanish. And again, it is consistent across all pages. Again, looking at this page, you can see that it's more focused on images and graphics. That bar on the left has a lot of consistency that will occur amongst all school pages, but we can also customize it according to each specific school. Going back to English here again, you can see when we scroll down on just this About page, for example, every school will have an About section, a principal's message, a mission, vision, values, but in this page, for example, we ask, who is Anna F. Derfler? So we are working with every school, every principal, doing site visits to make sure that we are able to effectively market our schools. This project, it's in process. We don't yet have a timeline for how long it will take to complete all websites, so we are hoping to gather that information as we continue the process. Moving on to the next slide, we are also working with all of our high schools to ensure that we have consistent branding for all schools. And I'm going to show you one example with the Audubon High School. So here you can see the past logo, which from a visual logo standpoint, we wanted to refresh and update and make it so that it could have a brand logo system, and we want that for all of our schools. So we worked with the school leader on different options, and this is the system that we developed and has been adopted. You can see that there's our consistent elements and different visualizations that schools can have access to so that they can have a consistent brand, yet flexibility within the system. It's also consistent with the MCC. We've been working with Milwaukee Rec to ensure that our systems are aligned with high school sports in the Milwaukee City Conference. We also worked with facilities, you can see on the right, to ensure that all of the school's colors are clearly identified, and we even have paint swatches so that when facilities and maintenance is providing maintenance for the buildings, we know that we have the correct colors so that when we're even displaying this branding throughout schools, it's consistent. We're conducting an audit of every building to see what branding marks they have and working with schools to help identify any updates to their logos. Some schools have logos that they have been consistently using, and we've just simply worked with them to develop the logo identity system. Part of this process is also ensuring that there's a central repository for each brand guidelines that we can help schools manage, but they have access to all of their assets as well. Again, so that we can just have consistency and provide guidance, especially if there is any change in staff within a building.
Chair Gogo Gandhi, members of the committee, Dr. Juan Baez, proud principal at Milwaukee School of Languages. I'm excited and honored to be here this evening sharing some highlights on our work around shared leadership. For my time, I would like to break my presentation into 4 short parts. First, the what, then the who, then the how, and then the why. So first, the what. We use a common language around shared leadership, which is that shared leadership is when each staff member within an organization takes ownership and responsibility for the part they play, leaders working alongside staff and in collaboration with other teams and departments to accomplish shared goals. This is in alignment with the board resolution that was introduced back in October, well, it was passed in October 27, 2022 by Director Simpson and Director Peterson at the time, with a commitment to developing and expanding a positive culture of collaborative and shared decision-making so that all staff work together for common goals. So refreshing on some of those major goals which really make up the work of our initiative, the intentional creation of positive school culture and climate, creation of an environment that has tolerance for risk and failure, acknowledgement of the strengths of the staff and reliance on them to help solve problems and to lead initiatives, ensuring that there are systems in place for ongoing and timely communication and encouragement of intentional collaboration between staff members, and building a community in which people pull together to identify problems, to create solutions, make decisions collectively, and to share accountability with the understanding that this is the responsibility of people at every level of the organization. The who. I am proud to say that this has been really a collaborative venture, and so I want to take the time to really highlight those other leaders in the district that are part of this work. First, we have Ms. Melinda Glandy out of the Central Region, Ms. Tiffany Fisher out of the East Region, Mrs. Sarah Pinto out of the Northwest Region, Mrs. Maribel Nieves Harris out of the Southwest Region, Ms. Erica Ganong, Assistant Principal at Milwaukee School of Languages, Dr. Marnie Donaldson Gamble out of the Central Region, Mr. Tyrone Nichols out of the East Region, Mr. Frank Lamers out of the Northwest Region, Mr. Gabriel Lopez Jaragüe out of the Southwest Region, Julie Junkins, Special Ed Supervisor, Larry Ferris out of the High School Region, Paul Sychek out of Special Ed Supervisor, Kim Haynes, Assistant Principal at South Division High School, and then myself as the principal at Milwaukee School of Languages. I think it's important to recognize those leaders who have been working and shaping this professional learning opportunity for leaders across the district, both at the PLI and at the AP SPED Institutes. Also collaborating with us have been Dr. Jennifer Hernandez, who is working with us through CISA, Chief Mims Howe, Dr. Khan, Dr. Posley, and then our monthly check-ins with Chief Madelaney, Dr. Posley, Dr. Khan, and Chief Mims Howe as well. The how. So we have principals representing 5 regions along with 2 special ed supervisors, 2 APs, as I just mentioned, and Dr. Hernandez. So we meet regularly to really create, based on the work of Peter DeWitt, but also on the resources that Dr. Jennifer Hernandez is able to provide for us, and just also leveraging the leaders that are part of this group's expertise and experiences in their respective fields and areas as well. So we prepare every other month to engage leaders in professional learning. On the off months, as you can see on the slide, there is a focus area that we work to, you could call it homework essentially, to either practice or put into place or look into, learn more about what it is that we need to continue to do relative to shared leadership. The sessions are hands-on, highly engaging, really focused on leadership practices anchored by Peter DeWitt's work. And opposite of those months, we come back and close that loop, right? So for example, one month we were given the opportunity for them to do a self-efficacy scale. That's something that we first started with. That following month, we came back and closed the loop on what does that look like, what do we learn from that, and how do we move forward, right? So leaders also have a voice in shaping the sessions that we create. So through our exit tickets, through the feedback we receive in those sessions, we then meet, debrief, and use that voice to make sure that we're then leveraging that for those future sessions as well. And lastly, why? Simply put, shared leadership supports improved efficiency by maximizing team strengths and ensuring we are all working towards the same goal. We have received numerous positive feedback from leaders, both assistant principals, sped supes, principals, that have really enjoyed these sessions. I want to highlight that this time is in our regional times, so it is really relevant to what they see and do day to day as well, right? So that relevancy is a critical piece of this work as well. And lastly, as leaders, we want to be in a position where we are confident and proactive versus being overwhelmed or reactive. Thank you.
Good evening. My Chair Gokul Gandhi, members of directors, members of the committee, I'm happy to present some information on the space utilization aspect of the strategic plan. We have been working on several reports and activities that are focused on the facilities and space utilization aspect of the right-sizing focus of the strategic plan. A request for proposal for the development of a new long-range facilities master plan has been developed ahead of schedule and is currently being reviewed by prospective respondents. The RFP was developed with input from a committee with representatives of administration, including facilities, finance, academics, and administrative leadership, along with school-based administration, the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association, and the Administrators and Supervisors Council. The Long-Range Facilities Master Plan will provide the district with a plan for how best to utilize our facilities based on the current strategic plan in reviewing demographics, district policies, facility information, and enrollment data. In addition, the space utilization database tool has been developed and is being updated to reflect current school year data. This database will be utilized to support the long-range facilities master plan development, in addition to just other district analyses and information that we are often asked to provide. In addition, we also have a facilities program capacity report that we develop every year. This is done in support of several different activities across the district, and so this has been updated based on current student enrollment and demographics for each school. Thank you.
Chair Golkin Gandhi and members of the committee, my name is Pepper Lamoth, and I'm the Manager of Talent Management. I'm here to talk about recruitment and retention work, as well as some initial information that we have on some surveys that we have established. One of the things that we have started to do this year is have a robust incentive program as an attempt to both attract and retain employees. Thus far, at the end of December, we had paid out 85 staff referral bonuses, and I'm happy to announce that we just processed 75 more for this next pay period. So as the people have started, they found out about this, they're making their referrals and such, we are having a lot of success with that. We've paid 41 sign-on bonuses for our comprehensive support and improvement schools. So those are for some of those positions that are hard to fill, and we have a bonus that we pay to those individuals. We've paid 11 for bonuses for bilingual speech, 3 for bilingual psychologists, and some for nurses as well. So we're really working, trying to identify those staff members. We've also paid 7 stay bonuses, which are 3-year bonuses that we give out to individuals who are staying in the 53206 schools to help support those students. Since the beginning of second quarter, October 1st, we've hosted 15 unique recruitment events, including 3 in-house job fairs. Those job fairs we have found to be incredibly successful, and over the summer, we were able to reach 100% staffing for our building operations and our safety teams. These past 3 months, we've focused a lot on teachers, substitute teachers, paraprofessionals, and food service assistants. And so we're planning, as we move forward with the staff exchange process, trying to identify the ways that we'll be able to help with that. The board also approved the substitute teacher incentive program. So we started tracking in December. We had a 41.3% fill rate of substitute jobs in December. This month, thus far, we have a fill rate of 46%. So we're seeing it kind of eke up a little bit, and we're going to continue with those incentives for the rest of this year. We also we have paid an additional $700 salary increase to eligible members of the ASC, which was kind of to support them and to let them know that they are appreciated. And then we are going to, not really related to recruitment or retention, but part of the whole right sizing. The right sizing committee is going to be ready to make some recommendations towards the end of this first quarter of 2023-24. So with the recruitment and retention work, we also decided that we wanted to get some feedback from the staff. So we set up these surveys with Qualtrics and a consultant, and we have a 2-day human resources survey. 22% of the people that took the survey, or 22% of the people that were hired completed the survey. Of those individuals, 76% thought that the process moved along smoothly. 85% thought that the technology was easy to use, Regarding the interview process, 87% had a positive impression of the interview process, and 96% felt as though they were treated with respect. We do have some room for improvement. 33% felt that the process needed to be improved in some aspect, and 36% felt that the communication could be timelier. And so we're really focusing on those efforts. As our director says, we write our own narrative, and so we're really trying to make sure that we're getting a lot more people to be impressed. The 30-day retention survey, this is for not only the schools, but for all the departments. We had a 27% completion rate for that, which came out to be 280 of our new hires completed that survey. 16% of them were classified, 43 were certificated, and 55 were ASC. So that's a little impressive. 90% of the teachers felt as though their basic needs were being addressed. We track that. And then 95% felt that they were part of the school community. We do need room for improvement. We need to really increase participation among the classified staff members. Those are the building ops, the food service, safety. They don't use their computers every single day like a lot of teachers and professionals do, and so we really just need to encourage them to go out and to complete those surveys. 15% of the teachers did not understand academic goals. This is initial data. As we get more data, we'll be able to disaggregate that and be able to discuss with the various schools if we can see any trends. And then the same information was asked for on the 60-day retention survey. We had a 21% completion rate, which came up to 206 of those individuals who completed that. 14% of them were classified. Again, we need to increase that classified percentage. 35 were certificated, and 63% were ASC. Again, 90% the teachers that stayed consistent, and we just need to make sure that we get more classified participation. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening.
Chair Gokul Gandhi, members of the committee, John Hill, Director of College Career Readiness, graduation and post-secondary readiness. Two areas of focus in the graduation and post-secondary readiness portion of the strategic plan are the district attendance plan and strategies leading to increased graduation rates. We have seen our graduation rate stabilize and increase to 65.6% for the class of 2023. Our overall district attendance is also up 1.7% compared to the same time last year. We celebrate the gains for both and recognize that there is still room for growth in each of these areas. Work-based learning is another key strategy for preparing students for post-secondary opportunities, such as work, apprenticeships, military, and post-secondary education. We continue to find internships and youth apprenticeships across opportunities for the students. We have students engaged with numerous businesses across Milwaukee in either an internship or a youth apprenticeship. Additionally, we have expanded work-based learning into education, and I am pleased to report there are 30 students who are or will be interns in MPS classrooms at various elementary schools learning about career opportunities in education this spring semester and summer. I will now turn it back to Dr. Mill.
Very good. As we close out our presentation, I also want to talk about the team's work. You've seen highlights here, but we have reviewed all of the quarter two progress on every single one of the initiatives. We have analyzed data, and we are in the process of updating action plans for quarter three. Those details will be posted. Hopefully. We've had a few snow days, I don't know if you've noticed, but it has put us a little behind in our meeting time to complete these. But you should start to see these soon. Around January 31st, we'll get posted what we have, and then we will complete that. And so we have the video, the picture here that shows you'll see a quarter one band and a quarter two band, so that you will see updates to the action plans where everyone is at, as well as the analysis of the data, an analysis of what is going well, things that we know we need to work on, and continued action steps. And so at this point, we want to say thank you to all of you, your support through the strategic plan, and we will entertain any questions that you have.
Thank you, Dr. Mel. Secretary Koala will go to public testimony first.
Madam Chair, we had no request to speak on this item.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Okay. Seeing none, is there a 1B to this presentation? I'm kidding. I know there's not. Thank you so much to the administration. It's getting late for jokes, I guess. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 3, action on a request to approve the proposed timetable for the fiscal year 2024-25 budget development and approval process. The recommendation is that the board adopt the fiscal year 2024-25 proposed budget timetable as set forth in the attachment to this item.
Administration, would you please present the item?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, annually a timetable is created to schedule out the steps for developing the budget. The proposed timeline is before you. Nick Simron, the Director of Financial and Planning and Budgeting, is here with you to provide highlights on this timeline, and after which we'll be more than happy to entertain any questions that you may have. Nick.
Good evening, committee members. Nick Sinram, Director of Financial Planning and Budget Services. Just wanted to take a moment to highlight some key events in the budget process for the viewing public, just with the one qualifier that some items are subject to change depending on board approval of specific dates. So we would start with currently, we are engaging school leadership and office leadership to discuss their preliminary budget requests. Beginning in February 7th through February 12th. Leadership at the central office will meet with school leadership to try and finalize school budgets in our regional resolution rooms. On April 26th will be the proposed release of the superintendent's proposed budget. The administration will then present to the proposed budget to the Strategic Planning and Budget Committee on May 7th. The statutory public hearing on the superintendent's proposed budget will take place on May 14th, allowing opportunity for the public to be involved in the budget process. Next, on May 16th, the Strategic Planning and Budget Committee will review the FY25 proposed budget, hear public testimony, and take possible action on proposed amendments. On May 20th, the Strategic Planning and Budget Committee will review the FY25 proposed budget, hear public testimony, and take possible action on a second round of proposed amendments. And then on May 30th, the full board meets to consider and take possible action on the superintendent's FY25 proposed budget.
Okay. Is there any public testimony on this item?
Madam Chair, we had no request to speak on this item.
Okay, do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Zambor?
Thank you, Chair Gokul Gandhi. Is there going to be a supplemental budget to the proposed budget, just in case the referendum passes? Or I guess how will we kind of juggle that?
Administration?
Chair Gokul Gandhi, Director Zambor, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. The plan at this point is we are moving ahead with our budget, with our prediction that we have, and knowing that a referendum is needed due to the gap in state funding. Once we find out the results of April 2nd, we would present a supplement to the budget that would show the pieces that we can help our school district with, such as increasing funding back to schools.
Any follow-up?
Madam Chair,
yes,
members
sorry.
of the committee, one of the things that we are doing is calling it a contingency plan. So therefore, we're going to complete our budget along with a contingency plan of the things that will go back in when the referendum is successful. So we will have
Manifesting
to.
it. I love it. Thank you. Yes, any follow-up?
Thank you, Chair Gokul Gandhi. Just one more question. Will the school engagement councils get a copy of this timeline and kind of that explanation so that as they're meeting about the budgets at the school level, and did they just kind of know that there is a contingency plan, but we have to plan for what we have now? I feel like I recall getting a budget, like a timeline like that when we were on the SEC.
Administration?
Chair Gokul Gandhi, Director Zambor, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. Each year, the schools do provide a contingency plan, and that's part of how we determine schools that need extra support. But we're going to use that form this year for them to show their contingency plan for the referendum. And they will be given targets for that plan, and that will be rolled out by the budget department, and budget analysts will help the schools with that. It will also be signed off by the School Engagement Council.
Any follow-up? Okay, I think I saw Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. I have a question for Office of Board Governance for the last two items. There's October 29th, 2024 board meeting to consider and take action on the amended adopted budget. And then no later than October 31st, the board clerk sends the amended adopted budget to the Milwaukee Common Council. Just wondering if that is a realistic timeframe or if we should possibly back that board meeting up. I don't know. We obviously don't have October yet. That's usually comes at the organization meeting, but I just want to not, I don't know what it takes to send that, to transmit the budget, but is that a realistic
Madam Chair, Director O'Halloran, members, all of the dates on the timetable that have the asterisk after them are suggested dates. They'll be factored into the planning at the organizational meeting where you would adopt your calendar. But when you adopt your calendar, you also adopt it with a note that all board meeting dates are subject to change, these included. So if that timing has to change, we would work with the administration to determine a more appropriate date.
Any follow-up, Director O'Halloran?
No, that was going to be my next question, really was around, we have the same situation where it's May 28th is the last SPB meeting of the month, and then we have the full board meeting on the 30th, but it looks like, according to this timeline, there's a whole week in between a couple of the meetings, so I was just going to ask if we would want to rearrange, but if this is the timeline that is being adopted with the understanding that things may need to change, then I'm okay with it, but I just don't want to set up unrealistic expectations for any staff members if it's too much of a scramble.
Madam Chair, members, the board always has the ability to modify its calendar.
Any other comments or concerns? Yes, administration.
Chair Gokungandi, Director O'Halloran, I agree that these can be changed. As you look at it and make your decisions, and even at your organizational meeting, take into consideration the time needed to submit amendments and respond to amendments. So thank you.
Thank you for that reminder. Anything else? Okay. What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Director O'Halloran.
I move approval of administration's recommendation related to the fiscal year 2024-2025 proposed budget timetable as set forth in the attachment to this item.
Great. Do I need a second? Do I have a second? Director Simpson? Is there any further discussion?
I'll second that.
Oh, sorry, I didn't let you speak. I just decided to move ahead.
Madam Chair, this is a committee, so you don't need a second.
Perfect. I don't need a second. Okay. Will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director O'Halloran's motion to approve the administration's recommendation, Director Carr.
Aye.
Director Herndon.
Aye.
Director Jackson.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
Director Zombor.
Aye.
And Chair Gokul Gandhi.
Aye.
That's 8 ayes, the motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 4, action on a request to approve the proposed fiscal year 2024-25 budget parameters and priorities. The recommendation is that the board approve the proposed fiscal year 2024-25 budget parameters as listed in the item.
Would the administration please present the item?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, the budget parameters and priorities are developed to guide the discussions made during the budget presentation process. This item outlines the proposed parameters and priorities that, if approved, will be used to develop the 2024-25 fiscal budget. So basically, I have here with me this evening Martha Kreisman as well as Nick Simran, and they will walk us through the parameters.
Thank you, Dr. Posley, Chair Gokungandi, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. MPS is dedicated to developing an equitable budget that reflects a commitment to the strategic plan and the district priorities. The proposed budget parameters and priorities outlined aim to guide the district in enhancing access to high-quality educational opportunities and fostering positive, supportive school environments for improved academic outcomes. I'm not going to read all of these parameters. This year we have more than usual, so there's 19 of them. I would like to highlight a few. One is, I'm going to highlight number 2, allocate resources to improve academic achievement in all areas, including fine arts, music, physical education, career and technical education, and world languages. Number 4, address staffing needs to ensure adequate resources are in place for school-based programs. Number 8, develop a professional development schedule that is aligned with the needs of administrators, teachers, paraprofessionals, and other staff. Number 15, expand internship and apprenticeship options for students by increasing business partnerships, retaining current partnerships, and leveraging internal opportunities within MPS. Number 16, address deferred maintenance and future construction needs by restoring revenue to the construction fund and the long-term capital improvement trust. 17, ensure school membership adequately reflects building capacity and staff needs. And 18, increase the fund balance to promote long-term stability and flexibility in the school operation fund, practicing sound financial management. The ones I chose to highlight are new to our list of parameters and priorities. And thank you for your time, and we'll answer any questions.
Madam Secretary, is there any public comment on this item?
We have no request to speak on this item, Madam Chair.
Great. Would committee members like to ask questions? Director Leonard.
So on number 17, when you say school membership, are we talking about enrollment as compared to staff in classrooms? Is that what you're speaking to?
Administration.
Chair Gulkangandi, Director Leonard, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. Yes, we're talking about students that are in the school to make sure that the building adequately reflects the needs of the staff and the students.
Director Leonard.
And then I'm assuming that that will in some way dovetail with us looking at various buildings and their capacities, like with right sizing, et cetera. Is that correct?
Administration.
Chair Gulkangandi, Director Leonard, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. That is correct. I'm glad you brought that up because many of these new items that I mentioned align to the strategic plan.
Thank you.
Any follow-up?
No, that's good.
Any other comments, questions? Okay. What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to the item? Director Simpson.
I move that we approve administration's recommendation for the proposed fiscal year 2024-2025 budget parameters as listed in this item.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Simpson's motion to approve the administration's recommendation, Director Carr.
Aye.
Director Herndon.
Aye.
Director Jackson.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
Director Zombor.
Aye.
And Chair Gokul-Gandhi.
Aye.
That's 8 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 5, a report with possible action on fiscal year 2024-25 estimated enrollment and financial forecasts. The recommendation is that the board approve the estimated enrollment and financial forecasts.
Would administration please present the item?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, each year the administration and the Office of Accountability and Efficiency develop a financial and enrollment forecast. The forecast will help us to predict the district's financial future so that we can make sound budgetary decisions, not only for the next fiscal year, but also for those years to come. And so with this, we have worked with the Office of OAE, between Matt Chasen and Nick Simram will walk us through that. I think we're turning it over first to Matt.
Chair Gokul-Gandhi, Matt Chasen, Office of Accountability and Efficiency. Dr. Bosley stated it exactly right. The intent of the forecast is to provide you a look into the future at any potential fiscal constraints or challenges so you can plan accordingly today. I'm going to do a broad view. I'm going to focus on the long view first, and then we'll sort of narrow the scope into more of a year over year, the current year to the next year, so we can unpack what has gone into any projected deficit in the near term. So right out of the gate, I just want to offer the reminder that our 5-year forecast is only on school operations. It does not include categorical or recreation or the construction fund. Looking at the top line then, we project that within 5 years we would see a decline in the revenue of roughly $25 million. That's inclusive of a projection of a mostly stabilized enrollment, but still a loss of several hundred students annually. Moving down then into the expenditure area, we're projecting an increase of over $150 million over 5 years in our salaries and other wages. Moving down a little bit further, we project an increase of almost $75 million in our total benefits area. That includes both active and retired employees who have coverage underneath the district's health plans. In purchase services, we're projecting an increase of over $25 million over 5 years. And the total net sum then of that with some supplies, materials, and debt service and others brings us to an increase projected of expenses of over $260 million in 5 years. I'm going to narrow the focus then to just a year-over-year comparison, the current fiscal year, FY24, to FY25, which is the next fiscal year. And you can see that in our salary and other wages, we're projecting basically an increase of over $96 million. That's a 21% increase. When we look at the benefits, we see an increase of almost $39 million. That's an increase of about 16%. When we move to examine purchase services, we project an increase of over $14 million. That's about a 5% increase over the current year. Lastly, when we look at supplies and materials, there's a more substantive lift percentage-wise. It's an increase of almost 71%, almost $33 million. And then finally, in the debt service area, we have an increase of just of about 26%. It's about an $8 million lift. Now, certainly, with a balanced budget in the current year and then a projected shortfall of $200 million in the subsequent year, that is the type of fiscal event that could invite and maybe should invite a certain amount of scrutiny. We wanted to make sure that we were transparent about the assumptions that went into our forecasting of this deficit. And so on the next slide, we have detailed all of those assumptions that lead us to the shortfall that you see here. I'm going to turn it back over to the administration to walk us through that.
Thank you, Mr. Chazen. Committee members, Nick Sinram, Director of Financial Planning and Budget Services. Just wanted to highlight some of the major drivers of the financial forecast, as you'll see on the slide. First, we are anticipating decreasing revenue as the revenue limit of the state's funding formula decreases. We are also anticipating a need for a cost of living adjustment for staff. You'll see there is an anticipated reduction of the vacancy adjustment for the FY25 budget. Also, ESSER funds staff funded through ESSER will need to be supported by the school operations funds if we anticipate those continuing. We also anticipate a significant increase to our benefits cost, as well as a significant cost for textbook adoptions. And then there's also a remaining kind of miscellaneous items that go into the $200.2 million budget shortfall. Thank you. And then if you can turn to the next slide, please. Here we see a long-term visual representation of the district's enrollment trends. While we all know that we had lost students due to the pandemic and demographic trends on a national level, in the recent years, we have seen enrollment stabilize, and we hope and expect for that to continue. And that is the end of the presentation. We'd welcome any questions.
Great. Secretary Koala, any public testimony on this item?
We have no request to speak on this item, Madam Chair.
Okay. Committee members, do you wish to ask questions? Director Herndon?
My question is related to assumptions and specifically special education voucher in $6 million. Could you explain what that's all about as a purchase service?
Administration?
Chair Gokungandi, Director Herndon, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. Milwaukee Public Schools is responsible to provide for the special education voucher. That is for private school special education services. We do receive funding through our revenue limit that is then passed back through to support this program.
Any follow-up, Director Herndon?
Yes, so in that, it's a special education voucher, and that reimburses at virtually 100%, am I correct? If it's, as long as it's not MPS.
Administration?
Chair Gokongandi, Director Herndon, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer, that is correct.
Director Herndon, any follow-up?
Okay. No, I just wanted clarification on that. It hurts a lot, but thank you.
It does. Any other questions? Director O'Halloran?
Thank you, Chair Gokul Gandhi. On the assumptions, staying on that same slide, are there any lines that we can identify that if, we did not get the referendum passed, that we may be able to push into the next year? Like, I know if the public is looking at this, they may see an item like Chromebook replenishment, and they may think, well, maybe you just don't buy Chromebooks this year, you can push it off. But that's how a lot of students access their, textbooks now. So are there any line items within here that are kind of more discretionary that we could push off to another year or choose to not do at all?
Administration?
Chair Gokongandi, Director O'Halloran, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. I suppose there's many of these items we could, like, for example, giving staff cost of living raises. Now that's going to affect our staffing, so everything will have a negative consequence. And so many times our district has to make these decisions that we put off, things that a school district should be able to do for their staff and students. So it's a terrible decision to have to make. For example, on here is increased construction levy. We have not been able to do that. This current year, we gave a little bit more to the construction levy. We wanted to add another $5 million for next year so that we could continue to increase that because we have so much deferred maintenance, but that's because we put things off because our state funding has not kept up. We could delay textbook adoptions. These are all things that would affect our students, would directly affect our students, so they'd be difficult decisions to make.
Director O'Halloran?
Yeah, I don't really have any follow-up questions. I just, I think it's really important to note, these are the types of decisions we're looking at if a referendum wouldn't pass. And to the point around COLA, the cost of living adjustments, my dad worked for the Milwaukee County Parks for 35 years, and he recalls multiple years in a row where they did not get cost of living adjustments, and it's effectively a pay cut. And so, someone may look at this slide and think, well, these are the things that you can do, but everything comes with a trade-off, and that's really balancing the budget on the back of students and staff when the state is still sitting on billions of dollars. I will put my soapbox away, but I thank you for this presentation and, kind of walking us through some of what some people may think are discretionary, but it really doesn't feel that way.
Do any other? Yes, Director Leonard.
So when we look at, I'm on the same page with the assumptions. When I look at the fewer district vacancies, and there's a $45.1 million amount there, are we saying that, what are we saying with that? Fewer district vacancies mean that we are hiring everyone we need, and that's why that's out there?
Administration?
Chair Gokongandi, Director Leonard, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. We are working hard to fill our vacancies and have improved in that direction. So it's risky to have such a high vacancy adjustment to our budget. What it does is it reduces our expenditure budget, and then those funds are reallocated and spent other places. So if we do fill all the positions, it kind of would mean that we're in a deficit with our budget. To put the district on a better footing and not in such a risky position as having such a high vacancy adjustment, we would like to put money back in that area. We would still have a vacancy adjustment, just not as large.
Thank you, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, what is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Director O'Halloran?
I move approval of administration's recommendation related to the estimated enrollment and financial forecast.
Any further discussion? Okay, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director O'Halloran's motion to approve the administration's recommendation, Director Carr.
Aye.
Director Herndon.
Aye.
Director Jackson.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Seamson.
Aye.
Director Zombor.
Aye.
And Chair Gokul Gandhi.
Aye.
That's 8 ayes, the motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item.
The next item is item 6, action on Resolution 2324R-10 by Director Gokul Gandhi on an audit reorganization. The recommendation, the Office of Accountability and Efficiency recommends that the board adopt the resolution.
So as a sponsor of this bill, I'm going to pass the gavel to you, Director O'Halloran.
Yes. Director Gokul Gandhi, would you like to present on this item, please?
I would. So I would like to just make a couple comments on this item. I've received some emails, I've seen some commentary online, and I want to clarify very crystal clear what this resolution is and isn't, and why I have brought this forth. And after I finish with my commentary, I'm going to ask the Office of Accountability and Efficiency, along with Mr. Geib, to make some comments to either agree or disagree with me, and you can feel to do so freely. So I just want to start with what this resolution is. So this is the same functional reporting to the board. The Office of Accountability reports to the board. They do not report to the administration. I want to make that really clear. We're doing this because the administrative reporting is better aligned with the mission of OAE to ensure transparency and accountability, which is in their title. So, might as well use those words to our advantage, and to really strengthen the independence of the audit function, which is something that we've heard time and time again, that we feel that there is a need for greater transparency within our community. This is also an opportunity for the Office of Board Governance to focus on board supportive services and address turnover in the office. And we've felt that, I think, across this board, that the staffing has caused delays or has disallowed the board clerk to really focus on what is needed to ensure the efficiency of her office. And then we're also really strengthening the independence of the audit function and insulating the audit function from interference, any undue influence, and obstruction by having an administrative reporting line to a senior director who reports directly to the board. And again, we have heard the call for this through public testimony over the time that I've been on the board. And so this is not, again, this is not reporting to administration. This is continuing to report to the Office of Accountability and Efficiency, which Matt Chasen will walk through a organizational chart, reports to us. And we still have our external auditor. We are not getting rid of that. So I want to make that very, very clear. This does not mean we do not have an external auditor. And then I also want to illustrate what this isn't, because that is important. This is not in any way an attempt to reduce the board's oversight and responsibility to the audit function, which remains unchanged. This is not a weakening of audit services independence. This is not a reduction in audit services ability to audit and have access to operational areas, documents, or personnel. And this is not any way changing policy 6.38, which allows the audit function to investigate fraud, waste, abuse, illegal, or unethical acts. So I hope with my illustration of what this is and isn't, we have greater clarity on what this is, and I will now turn it over to the Office of Accountability, Efficiency.
As the chair,
Yeah.
I'll turn it over to
Oh,
the
that's right, I forgot. You are the chair.
And
Thank you.
efficiency. Ma'am, I apologize. I love the explanation, but you did pass the gavel.
You're
So,
right, I did. Thank you.
With the Office of Accountability and Efficiency, please provide any agreement or, disagreement or any comments at this time.
Chair O'Halloran, Matt Chasen, Office of Accountability and Efficiency. There's a handout that's being passed out right now. I'm going to just talk for a little bit to make sure there's no dead air, lest I get a sly eye from the board clerk. And as that's being passed out, one of the things that you can see on the visualization that's there is the discrete move of audit services exclusively. The regular functions of OPG remain the same, the external auditor and its contractual relationship to the board to satisfy the statutory function to review our financial statements. That all remains exactly the same. When this proposal first came forward, I applied to it the same rubric I have done on other instances when the board has proposed moving other district functions under the OAE. And that is really a consideration of whether or not those functions do align and fit with the mission and the charge of the office. And I have candidly stated to this board in other instances that I thought there was misalignment, that there was mission drift, and it would not be a fit. And when I apply the same rubric here, I can't see misalignment, nor do I see a poor fit. I think it does, in fact, align with the charge of the office, subject to the board's approval. I'd be happy to support moving that function into the umbrella of the OAE. If the board did approve it, I would collaborate and cooperate with the Office of Board Governance to support that transition. And then also included in this item, if the board were to approve, to ensure some timely implementation, the body of policies and procedures that would be requisite to be updated before we could really begin the work is included here for your approval on this item as well. I think I heard the other chair say they wanted to hear from our internal audit. So at this point, if the chair would recognize Mr. Geib in Audit Services.
Mr. Geib. And I'll just, for anyone who's listening while we get the microphone turned on, Mr. Geib is with Audit Services.
Chair, good evening. Chair Gokul Gandhi, other Chair Halloran, members of the committee. Yeah, what I wanted to say is that I've been in the Audit Services Department for, I'm in my 23rd year. We follow government auditing standards. Those standards require independence. That's fundamental to the work I conduct. So I do wholeheartedly support this administrative change. Again, just to reiterate, functionally, I continue to report to the board. I have to have that functional reporting to the board in order to keep my independence. We as a government auditing standards shop have to be peer reviewed ourselves every 3 years. So somebody asked who audits the auditors. We do get audited as well. And so just, to reiterate that in order for that to be a successful peer review, I have to have an organizational structure that supports that independence. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions members of the committee or the chair may have.
Thank you, Mr. Geib. Director Gokul Gandhi, would you like the gavel back?
I could take the gavel back, thank you. Okay. Secretary Koala, do we have any public testimony on this item?
We have 2 speakers on the virtual platform.
Great. Let's go to the virtual platform.
1 moment, please.
Yeah, not a problem.
Okay, when I call your name, please state your name, spell your last name, and then give your comments. The first speaker is Angela Harris.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Angela Harris, Angela. last name Harris. I am glad to know folks were paying attention and heard what the questions the community had about this. I still have 2 questions though left. My first question is, how does this strengthen transparency and accountability financially or otherwise exactly? Can we be explicit in the language that we use? And then also, why did this process work for past offices of board governance? And then what are the implications for future boards and future offices of board governances? I don't know if that's a word, after this. So those are just my 2 questions. I will let y'all have that.
Thank you. The next speaker is Sierra Brown. Please state your name, spell your last name, and give your comments.
Hello, Chair Gokul Gandhi, members of the committee. My name is Sierra Brown, Brown. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Again, I do, as Angela has questions, I also have questions, such as who hires and fires the staff of efficiency and accountability? Is it the board or another entity? And also, what access does the Office of Accountability give to the public that equates to the level of transparency the board currently provides via public meeting? Also, yes, the implications of the incumbent board members removing a level of responsibility and power from their job description that will impact the board members that succeed you. So proposing to take power away from an elected position, what are the implications of this? And why is the board able to eliminate something from their own job description via vote? This is, if you could just elaborate. We do have unanswered questions, so thank you. You can have your time back.
Thank you.
I am going to ask the Office of Accountability and Efficiency to speak to some of the concerns that were raised in public testimony.
Thank you, Chair Gokul Gandhi, Matt Chasen, Office of Accountability and Efficiency. So under policy, it is the charge of this office to increase public transparency. And given the fact that the unique positioning of this office in its reporting to the board, as someone who's not a contracted employee, but an individual who reports rarely as just a regular district employee, it insulates it from undue influence in a way that a contracted member who reports to the board cannot be insulated from. There is no contract term that, when approached, can, by this board or any possible bad acting future board, can say, you know what, we are expecting an audit report to read the following, and this may or may not be tied to a contract term. And so it is a measure of insulation that is even further than what exists under their current alignment today. If Mr. Geib had any other additional comments, I would ask the chair to go ahead and recognize him if he had anything he wanted to add.
Mr. Geib?
Chair Gokul Gandhi, members of the committee. One thing I wanted to also reply to on the second speaker's statements was that, again, the board is not moving away from any responsibilities here. The board, the full board, continues to approve the annual audit plan. This committee continues to approve any changes to the annual audit plan that occur after they've approved. And the Accountability and Finance Committee still receives the audit reports. I appreciate committee members who have concerns and are paying attention to the actions that are being taken. But in this case, I am thinking that there must be a misunderstanding of what the board's role is in this change. It is not abdicating any responsibilities. In fact, I would make the argument that this this administrative change enhances the functional reporting to the board. Some of you may not have ever heard me speak, and so you are going to have an opportunity, to have maybe a little bit more contact with your audit function.
Okay, we will move to committee members. I'm going to start with Director Zambor.
Thank you, Chair Gokul Gandhi. Yeah, I mean, I would agree that there's been some misinformation spread about this proposal. I would go so far to say as I think it might be deliberate misinformation that's rooted in that misinterpretation of the reporting structure and the fact that OAE, the Office of Accountability and Efficiency, the same as Office of Board Governance, has complete independence from the administration. There's nothing in this proposal that would eliminate the board's oversight of the audit function. Both the Office of Board Governance and the Office of Accountability and Efficiency report to the board, not administration. I also think it's important to point out that nowhere in this proposed plan does it eliminate the policy that states audit services staff have full, free, and unrestricted access to all organizational activities, records, property, and personnel relevant to the performance of an audit, review, or investigation. I think that's really important for everyone listening to know. Furthermore, the red line policy still reads that staff members who fail to cooperate with audit services staff during a formal audit may face discipline pursuant to the MPS employee handbook. So there's nothing in this that's weakening that function. This is just a move from one department under the board to another department directly under the board. It couples OAE's charge of transparency, efficiency, and accountability with audit's systematic approach to ensuring the district is managing risk and operating effectively. Those two are complementary. The internal audit department is vital to our continuous improvement as a district, and I support this move. I also believe that especially at a time when the Office of Board Governance is understaffed by multiple FTEs, this will create space for Office of Board Governance to refocus on other core service areas, which have become increasingly more demanding over the years. It's no secret that there's been an increased number of records requests, constituent communications, a lot of work that needs to be done around policy development and review, and I thank Director Gokul Gandhi for bringing this forward. I do have a question I'm wondering if the OAE can comment on, just on how quickly this change can occur if the board approves this item.
Mr. Chasen?
Chair Gokul Gandhi, Matt Chasen, Office of Accountability and Efficiency. There's just some administrative housekeeping that needs to get done once the policy revisions are done. Those involve, in terms of the payroll oversight, there would be some updates to the website. There'd be some security changes to take place in our systems of record, and ultimately, probably during the budget process as well, an understanding of where the new position of the Audit Cost Center would appear. So those would be the pieces that would take place, I think, in terms of, to Mr. Gabb's point, the functional changes can begin as soon as the policy changes have, with the rest of the administrative housekeeping to take place in short order.
Any follow-up? Director Zambor?
Oh, no, thank you, that helps. Well, just one more comment. I do agree with Mr. Geib's comment that I hope we see him more. And I think I've said that before, that he should be at more of our accountability, finance, and personnel meetings. And so I hope that if this gets approved, we can ensure that happens.
I think I saw one more hand over here. Yes, Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. And I was just wondering about, we received a handout that has the current organizational structure and the proposed organizational structure, and I was wondering if that could be made public, because I think it really helps clarify that Mr. Matt Chase that reports to us. We do his annual evaluation. He's at every board meeting, every full board meeting he presents. It's not at all moving audit services out of the board's purview. I think it just is really succinct. So I was wondering if this would be, if we could make this publicly available. I don't know who the answer would come from.
Madam Chair, Director O'Halloran, when the report of SPB gets submitted to the full board, we can include this as an attachment to that report.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to thank the Office of Board Governance as well. To Director Zambor's point, there have been a number of challenges, an increase in demand on a number of fronts, and I know that as a board, we're considering doing a deeper dive on policy review and everything, and so I just think this is a very easy an easy yes. It is not complicated at all in my mind, and I think that this properly aligns the function of internal audit within the board's larger umbrella. So, thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, what is the pleasure of this item? What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? President Herndon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we accept the recommendation of our team and administration on this item.
Any further discussion? Okay, will the secretary please call the roll?
If I could clarify the motion, the
Can.
recommendation was by the Office of Accountability and Efficiency. Is that what?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, on Director Herndon's motion to approve the recommendation of the Office of Accountability and Efficiency, Director Carr.
Aye.
Director Herndon.
Aye.
Director Jackson.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Seamson.
Aye.
Director Zombor.
Aye.
And Chair Gokul Gandhi.
Aye.
That's 8 ayes, the motion passes.
Great. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Madam Chair, there are no more items on this meeting's agenda, but we do have a meeting of the Committee of Legislation, Rules, and Policy, which will start after a brief recess.
Great. There being no further business before this committee, the meeting is adjourned.